this straight through, or are there commercials? Okay.
And good morning, Rim Country. Chris Higgins in the studio. Hope you guys are having a great morning. It is a nice morning and some rain. Wow, the rain yesterday got a little bit. It was nice. Hopefully get some more rain today, this weekend. It's just wonderful to see that water falling from the sky. And well, this morning on our Community Spotlight program, we're going to continue with our author interviews, authors that will be at the Payson Book Festival, and that is Saturday, July 23rd at the Mademoiselle Hotel and Casino, and I believe that's from 9 to 2 p.m. And our author in the studio today is Susan Starr. Good morning, Susan.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, and how are you?
Doing great, doing great. And your book is Ringo Starr, Search and Rescue Dog. I love the title, Ringo Starr, because that probably catches a lot of people's attention.
Well, well, luckily the dog had, when he was around, he had legal papers saying he was actually Ringo Starr. But I had a very, very good friend of mine who helped me edit the book, KRIM Dawson, and she's the one that suggested I put Search and Rescue Dog on the cover, just so that nobody would buy it thinking they were going to get a story about the drummer, the Beatles.
Yeah, and funny you say that, because KRIM was the one who was on the phone, you know.
I heard you say KRIM.
Yeah, and so we're going to get her scheduled on the Community Spotlight program.
Good.
Yeah, with you know, the group that she's with.
Yes.
You know, get them on here. But that's funny you mentioned that. I'm kind of like, wait a second.
Yeah, she helped me edit the book. She really was instrumental in helping me also figure out how to get it published through Amazon Kindle, which was an experience.
Gotcha. So this book, on the back cover, it says this is your story of your 10 plus years of learning about search and rescue dogs. And so your team and you went from knowing absolutely nothing to learning how to evaluate, train, observe, and most importantly, read a dog. And the hardest thing I have ever had to learn in my entire life was this.
Yeah.
Wow. So you are with Search and Rescue.
Yes.
KRIM Search and Rescue.
Yes.
How many years have you been with that organization?
As of this month, I've been with them 13 years. Since 2009, so that would be 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been on the board for about 7 years, I think.
7 years.
6 or 7 years, yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm currently serving as secretary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I know the KRIM Search and Rescue is such, the group is such a incredible asset to the community. I mean, everything that the group has done over the years, how many lives you've saved.
Yes.
And of all ages, and that's something that I wanted to just touch on in your book, because you share about the different rescues that you've been on, you and Ringo and your other search and rescue dogs, and just sharing about those experiences. And I guess we want to let people know as well that this book, it the style it is written in, what it is like a memoir?
Well, yes, it's definitely a memoir.
Okay.
You know, so first person memoir. So you know, all of my experiences up until when I wrote it about 2 years ago. So since then we've had more experiences, but you know.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you guys.
Oh yes.
You're kept busy.
Yes.
You're kept very busy.
Very busy.
Yeah.
And even we're amazed because we're just as busy this year, and Fossil's closed.
Wow.
And it hasn't really eased up at all, even with Fossil being, and Fossil usually is 18 to 20 missions every year, and even with Fossil closed, we're still just as busy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So again, Susan is going to be at the Payson Book Festival. It is Saturday, July 23rd, and it's from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So it goes until 2:30. It's at the Mademoiselle Hotel and Casino. Susan is going to be at booth number 11, and I believe Mr. Hirschberger yesterday, when he was on and sharing, he said there's going to be approximately 90 authors there.
Yes. Yes. It fills up those two back rooms that
Yeah.
are in the casino. That
Mhm.
one, yeah. And I was there last year,
Okay.
and it was quite busy and quite a few authors. And
Mhm.
a lot of fun.
It is, and it's great for people that go to the book festival, that they have an opportunity to talk to you and all the other
Mhm.
authors, just face to face.
Yes.
They get a chance to, look at your book, ask you about your book, ask you about being an author, your experience, how you got started, what caused you to write the book. So it's amazing to have access to that many authors in one place.
It's pretty neat.
It
I mean,
is.
because that doesn't really happen to people very often. That they'll see a book that they have heard about, or they're interested in the subject matter or something,
Mhm.
and your chances of talking to the author aren't very high
Mhm.
most of the time. But this is all locals,
Mhm.
and it's not just Payson. There's some that come up from Phoenix and Mesa, and
Mhm.
so it's a lot of fun. It really is.
It is. And
And a lot of Arizona subject matter.
yes, I was
Yeah.
just going to say, because authors from all over Arizona, and you have authors, and I don't know if he's going to be there this year, but like a Marshall Trimble type, and
Yes.
just writing about places in Arizona, experiences, also fantasy or sci-fi, children's books, just a very diverse group of
Very
authors.
diverse, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, every subject you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself, and I know it'll be just as much fun this year. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely will be. And talking and looking at your book, again, just so many stories, experiences, your experiences with your dogs, and the main dog, Ringo Starr. I know, looking through and reading through the book, you share the experience of a missing Boy Scout,
Yes.
and that was
Yeah.
in 2011.
Yeah, we hadn't been doing it very long. We'd only been at it for about a year when the Boy Scout went missing down in Globe.
Mm.
And this was part of our plan as a very, very novice group of
Mhm.
people. We really needed him to be able to work with the different team members, and there were
Mhm.
only about 5 of us when we started,
Mhm.
just in the dog team.
Gotcha.
We have like 85 members.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about 35 of them are active, very, very active, on Toronto Rim Search and Rescue.
Mhm.
But when we started the dog team, there was only about 4 or 5 of us.
Wow.
And we immediately decided right off the bat that he had to be able to work with anybody that was available, because I was working full-time.
Mhm.
I'm still working,
Uh-huh.
part-time, but I was working full-time. And
Yeah.
when this rescue came up, this search came up, I
Mhm.
was not able to go. So
Oh.
he went, my 2 teammates, Greg Reed and Jim McMillian, took Ringo down to look for the Boy Scout. And he was the only dog down there. There
Mhm.
weren't a lot of, even throughout the whole state of Arizona, there were not a lot of search and rescue dogs at that time. There
Mhm.
are now.
Okay.
And there's except for the police departments.
Yes.
Law enforcement and DOC, Department of Corrections, had dogs.
Mhm.
But as for volunteer groups, there weren't very many. And
Mhm.
and we, boy, did we learn a lot in a
Yeah.
very, very short amount of time. But so he was the only dog down there. There wasn't any other dog, and he's the
Wow.
one that's credited with finding the boy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even there.
Uh.
And that's like, when you think about it, we'd only been doing it for about a year, and that he was not even a year old. He was 11 months old when he found that boy.
That's what
Yeah.
I remember reading, and
Yeah.
I was going to comment on 11 months old.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Well, dogs achieve their maturity. They become sexually mature at about 5, 6, 7 months in that time period.
Mhm.
And depending on the breed of dog, some dogs tend to mature. Some breeds tend to mature quicker,
Mhm.
and others tend to mature a little bit later on.
Mhm.
Your Labrador Retriever is a good example of that.
Mhm.
And some dogs just, they're puppyish for quite
Yeah.
a while. But that was amazing. But I think that had to go with the intensity. And when we were training back then, we were training 3 times a week. Now we
Mm.
train once a week. But back then, because we were training ourselves,
Yeah.
and we really, really needed to apply everything that we possibly could and learn, and I think that was the main key to why Jim and Greg and Ringo were so successful that day. Yeah.
Wow, and so that is an example of searching for a child.
A teenager. He was 14.
Okay, 14.
Yeah.
And there's probably been also examples of younger children searching for, or maybe a little younger?
Yes, I think the couple of times we have gone out searching for younger children has been a couple of times that we have that over the few years where it was very, very lucky. A lot of times though, some of those searches turn out to be a family member will locate the child sometimes before we actually get there. But most of the ones where we've been looking for a teenager or a child have turned out to be pretty good.
And then there's another example, or you shared another search for an elderly gentleman, Franco.
Yeah, the search for Franco. Yeah, that was an eye-opening experience also because of the fact that it was something and in fact it was shortly before that we had a couple of conference sessions where the training that we got, and we have a canine conference usually once every year, and inside of Arizona. It's like an Arizona canine conference, and we had a couple of training sessions, and one of them was directly related to Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And we got a lot of information that you might not know until you have an Alzheimer's expert doctor standing in front of you telling you this is what you need to be aware of. This is what happens with Alzheimer's people, things like they are not going to stay in one spot. They are going to wander and wander, and very much like a child would, and then the other thing was that with the dogs, we had an incredibly good trainer. Her name was Jennifer. She was just really good, and she taught us about something that we hadn't even really been trained on, which was how to read the dog giving you a negative, which is telling you that, hey, they're not here. Or, they're not over there, they might be over there. The dog is telling you, and that's what I talk about reading, learning to read the dog. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And it's all done with whatever the dog's behavior, he's signaling with you with his behavior. That's...
Well, and you have a lot of experience with dogs, and I didn't mention that you're a certified veterinary technician at Starr Valley Veterinary Clinic with Dr. Hallman. And so you get to see quite a few dogs, don't you?
Hundreds. And cats.
Yeah.
And we still will look at rabbits and ferrets and so, but mostly dogs and cats. A lot.
So you have a lot of experience then reading and with dogs' behavior.
Well, that's a different situation.
Okay.
Inside the clinic is a completely different situation than outside with your family dog or your search dog or your working dog. But it's only different because of the environment. It's not so much different because the dog is still going to demonstrate to you some things that you better be very, very aware of. And we talk about it frequently at work, about walking into an exam room, and if that dog is showing any aggression towards you whatsoever, it's going to take a whole different ball game as to a very friendly, socialized dog like yours, and even then, he's right now in his environment. He loves it here. He loves being around people, but you put him into a exam room, and particularly if he's not feeling well or he's injured, and that changes everything. Everything changes, and we talk about it a lot because it's actually a heavy-duty part of our job is to be able to go in and assess what is going on with the owner and
Mhm.
the dog, and sometimes the owner brings all their kids, and you've got 8 people in the room. It's
Yes.
quite,
Hectic.
yeah, it can be very hectic,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, one of the things you talked about before the program today was with search and rescue, that first and foremost you are focused on, and it's all about safety.
Oh, yeah.
Safety. So I
Mhm.
imagine, safety for your team, safety for your dogs,
Mhm.
safety, where that comes first, because if you're not being safe, how can you
First and
provide-
foremost.
Yeah.
In
Rescue.
fact, I had to do the safety section of we have to have an academy once a year
Mhm.
by state, Arizona State Search and Rescue regulations. Everybody
Mhm.
that's new must attend a 2-day academy, and basically it's a matter of going over protocols, both, legal protocols, and then things like communication, map and compass, navigation, safety, man tracking. We do an awful lot in 2 days, and it's basically an introductory thing. So
Mhm.
you better understand this is what you are going to get into. And I tell you what, I had to do safety this year, and it's amazing, because that's the most predominant number one thing is safety of your teammates,
Mm.
and along with that, your dog is your teammate,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
so
yeah.
safety of the dogs. So
Mhm.
if we are in a situation where they want the dogs to go out, and I will tell them it's 108 degrees out right now, it's maybe someone that we basically know where they are or something like that, we can't really put the dogs out in 108 degrees
Mhm.
up here.
Yes.
Now, do they do that down in Tucson? Yes,
Mhm.
but those dogs are trained in that type of heat.
In that
And
environment.
even
yeah.
then, they won't do it either. So it's kind of like one of those things where the safety of the humans and the safety of the dogs that are working becomes predominantly the most important part of our job.
Now, with your book, with it being a memoir,
Yeah.
you share a lot of different stories, not just about your search experiences, but also funny stories like bologna,
Oh,
which
bologna.
the bologna wasn't safe. The bologna you found out wasn't safe. You thought it would be, because Ringo was such a well-behaved dog, didn't eat food like Toulouse, who would eat,
Yeah.
everything.
So that everybody knows, yeah. Ringo was an Aussie Hound mix, and Toulouse is a blue tick hound.
Uh-huh.
I cannot leave any food anywhere that Toulouse can get to it.
Uh-huh.
And I have put safety child locks on all of the cabinets
Oh
where
my
there
gosh.
is, trash or food, up in the.
Yeah.
He's just ridiculous,
Uh-huh.
and he doesn't care. There's never
Mhm.
any guilt.
Wow.
I can't guilt that dog. There is no way. It's like, well, this is your problem, not mine.
Yes.
You left it out.
Yeah.
Like
so
I
what are
said
you
in the
doing?
story, Toulouse took 2 cooking barbecue chicken breasts out of the frying pan and ate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, while I was doing something, answering the phone or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Ringo was exactly the opposite. He wouldn't
Uh-huh.
touch anything at all until I went to the grocery store.
Mhm.
This is the bologna story. I went to the grocery store and I bought all my groceries, and I had bought garlic bologna at Safeway, which is really good.
Mhm.
If you like bologna, which is something that's left over from my childhood. And I left it in the car because I knew he wouldn't touch it.
Mhm.
And then on the way home, I realized it was all gone, vanished. And I could guilt that dog.
Yes.
I looked at him and I yelled at him, and he just was like
He-
staring out the window of the car.
He wouldn't look at you, would he?
No, he would not look at me. He knew, but that was like too much for him. That was the breaking point.
No, it is funny, and something else that I think is really worth mentioning is your book. In the beginning of the book, or the front of the book, you say and let everyone know that a portion of the proceeds from the sale of your book will be donated to KRIM Search and Rescue, and also the Humane Society of Central Arizona, because you have a special connection there.
Well, Ringo, and both Ringo and Toulouse were the first dogs that we got, and they came from the our Humane Society, and they were donated to me as, you know, and I went down there with an evaluator, a woman who was happened to live in Payson at the time, and she was helping us get started with the training. And I went down there, and the first dog she picked out was Toulouse.
Wow.
And she after 2 weeks, she said he isn't any good. He's never going to be any good. Which we at that time, we didn't have any reference to know what we were doing because we were all so new at it. So we went back down to the Humane Society, and that's when she picked Ringo out. And I got very lucky with both dogs. And so we just kept working Toulouse after I had talked to some other people that were very, very well versed in search and rescue and in working police and law enforcement dogs. And they said, he's a hound. Sometimes they don't really react well or want to go to work right away till they're a little bit older. So they were basically like, throw him out in the field and just let him go. Don't put him through any puppy training. Just teach him what you want him to do, and he will either pick it up right away or he won't. And he did. And he's been my main dog in the last 3 or 4 years. He has.
And how old was he when you got him?
He was 6 months.
He was 6 months.
And then, but we didn't really put him out in the field until he was about 18 months old.
Okay.
Yeah. But Ringo was only 12 weeks.
Wow.
And my bloodhound was only 13 weeks.
Wow.
And my new Aussie was 13 weeks. So this is another kind of controversial area. There are a lot of people that don't believe you should start them until they're older, and I've never quite bought into that. I've always thought, now, can an older dog do it? Many times. Yeah, we have a dog that belongs to one of my teammates, Alicia Keller.
Alicia.
And she has a 5-year-old Australian cattle dog. And when she was about 4, Alicia asked me, do you think she's too old? And I said, well, you know, give her a shot, give her a try. And she has turned out to just be a really, really solid, well-trained HRD dog. And so we have an HRD team that's separate from live search. Human remains detection. What we used to call cadaver dogs. And she's just turned out to be very, very good at it. But she's also good at live search. And she'll come out and train with us, and we'll put her out there, and she has no problem. She's a dual purpose dog. She's picked up, she's been able to do both, you know. And that's also something they said, no dog should ever be cross-trained like that. And now they've decided, well, there are some dogs that can do both.
Wow.
Yeah, they can, they understand the difference, and they understand the difference of the two problems that you're presenting them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
And so how many dogs are on your team for Tunnel Rim Search and Rescue?
Well, on my team, we have 6.
Okay.
My 3, and then Chill and Bodie, and then we've got a new dog that's coming on. So yeah, we have 6 on my team, and a new one that we're training, Sully. And then on the HRD, the human remains, there's 2.
There's 2.
So we have a total of 8 dogs.
8 dogs.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I that's everything that, a lot of the things that we talk about or that we do are a little bit off the beaten path sometimes, because I've been told, well, why do you need 3 dogs? But the thing about it is that if you have a lot of, it's like a basketball team. If you have a lot of depth and a big bench,
it's better.
It's better because you know you've got a dog. Toulouse will be 13 in September. He's still searching, and he's still in very good health. He's very good physically. And if I had a lost child, like if I get a call out today and I'm a lost child, first dog I'm going to put out is either Toulouse or Chill, because they're the older guys. Chill's 11, Toulouse is 13, and they are the older ones, and they're going to be the ones that I would put out first. And but is he close to retirement? Yes, I have to face that. So we bring in these younger dogs and we start working with them.
And I imagine it's just like people, whether an athlete or whoever, all of us, you have off days, you're not maybe feeling the best. So to have 3, like you said, and maybe they each are a little better in certain areas.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you know, to have a few, I could see where, oh, that would be better.
We have predominantly hounds and herding dogs, herding
Mhm.
breeds,
Mhm.
and they work differently,
Gotcha.
completely differently. And if you're not aware of how they work differently, then you're not going to know which one to put out there,
Mhm.
you know. And I mean, the herding breeds are very fast, very problem-solving breeds, but that in some ways the hounds are so reliable
Mm.
because of their ability to put the nose on the ground and just
Gotcha.
go. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Like the like slow and steady, just kind of like the hounds.
Well,
where they,
they're pretty
maybe
fast.
not slow.
I mean,
That's true compared to you and I. They're not slow at all.
I mean, you'd think my bloodhound would be slow until you see somebody coming back with him who's been training with him
Yeah.
and they're out of breath
Wow.
because he takes off like, you know, he really can
Wow.
move, you know.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. So I'm sure you talk about that a little bit in your book about you know the different types of breeds.
Oh
and
yes.
just your experiences.
Yeah.
And again, Susan's book is Ringo Starr, Search and Rescue Dog, and she is going to be in at booth 11 at the Payson Book Festival, and that
Yes.
is Saturday, July 23rd from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Matazel Hotel and Casino.
Can I mention where the book is for sale?
Yes, definitely.
The book is for sale at Sherry's shop, Fancy Finds, up
Okay.
in Pine.
Okay.
She's got copies of the book for sale, and also at Western Village.
Okay.
There's copies in there also.
Yeah.
And you can get it on Amazon, but if you put in Ringo Starr, you're going to get beetles instead of dogs. So you have to put in Ringo Starr Search and Rescue Dog, but you can get it off Amazon too.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
great. Up in Pine, Fancy Finds.
Yeah, Fancy Finds in
And
Pine.
then Western Village.
Western
Sue
Village.
Malinsky's
Yeah,
out there.
Sue's shop on the edge of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we used to be. Our little
Yeah,
station was
yeah,
right there in
that
Western
little
Village.
front room.
I know, for 4 or 5 years. So, well, Susan, thank you so much. Just like that, it's 10:31. So, you know, I know there's so many other things that you have in the book, and also, hopefully, people can make it out and talk with you.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
you know, hear about.
Well, they just ought to come because it's a lot of fun.
I know.
Yeah, it is just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is with 90 authors out there, you'll find that even if you get there at 9 o'clock, I mean 2:30 comes real quick
It
because
does.
walking around talking to all the different authors, it's just a great experience.
Yes, it is.
Yes, so thank you so
Well,
much for
thank
coming
you,
on.
Chris. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for everything you and your search and rescue dogs and your team
I appreciate that.
do with
Yeah.
With our ton of rim search.
We
and rescue.
really, really work hard, and we've got a lot of good people on the squad and a lot of good teams.
Well, everyone is. It's a blessing. Oh, yeah, you like that. It's a blessing for our community to have
Thank you.
your group, and thank you. Yeah, Jen, who wants to talk. He's happy. He approves it. So we're gonna time to get back to the weather now with some John Cougar, Pretenders. I know James Taylor and more, but first let's get an update from the National Weather Service. Oh, what?
Right at the end,
I
he
know.
decided to have a comment.
I know, yeah, you're like, hey, yeah, you're great. They're great. I smelled them. I know, yeah, they're good dogs. That's funny.
That's too funny.
I know, sometimes he gets a little talkative and he'll.
Oh, they all do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have to, you know, my one command my dogs know, knock it off.
Knock it off.
They will go out like at daybreak,
Uh-huh.
like this morning. They